don't stop talking. So, case in point, when I got married, my brother over in the maroon there, he had a poll going how long my wedding vows that I wrote would be. Let's just say I'm putting his daughter through college because he did well. It was way over. So on behalf of the family, thank you everybody for being here. I guess couple of public service announcements I was asked to say. Table over there on the left, there's all kinds of mementos and pictures and plaques. Please feel free to take those. You know, Don would want them to go to a good home. Uncle Don would want them to go to a good home. Also, the food, the delicious food, was catered by Grapevine. There's plenty of leftovers. If you want any to go home with, see either Jeff or Cindy, and they can set you up with like a little goodie bag to go. So, I know we have a lot of people here from out of town. I was told there's people here from Argentina. Uncle Don had his, his hunting trips down there, Arkansas, Texas, Virginia. I don't know where else outside of the tri-state area, but that kind of says something about Don, who he was. I don't have anything written down. Trying to go off the cuff like Uncle Don would, although he was a man of few words. But for those of you who knew him, and everybody knew him in some way, he was a very, very gentle soul. And that's one of the things I'm going to really miss about him is you can sit with him for an hour or two. He didn't always have a lot to say, but you knew that it was very comforting just being with him. He was non-judgmental, he was very humble, and I know some of that I'm taking to heart to make myself a better person. So I thank him for being in my life. I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with him the last couple of years down here in Tuckerton. I've obviously known him all my life, but the last couple of years we became fairly close, and just a wonderful man. Great family, great friends. The boys club guys, gals, thank you so much. You were a huge, huge part of his life. I mean, there was plaques, who has a boys club? Don has a boys club, and you guys were just such a great support to him. You guys were his family. So thank you for all the years of support, and just being there with him and being his friend. I'm gonna stop now because this is just getting a little bit hard, but just think of what he meant to you and just take that and in your own lives, just hope that makes you a better person, because he really was truly a gentle soul, humble, non-judgmental. He was really a good man. So thank you.
I too have not prepared anything, but I want to start by saying I went to several of Don's friends to see if they would speak, and every one of them is too emotional to say anything. And I think that alone tells you how important he was in people's lives. Obviously, he was my brother, and we were very close, especially since I moved back to New Jersey. And after my husband died, he was my go-to guy. So, hey, Don, this light is on. What does that mean? Later years, he wasn't able to physically help me anymore, but he always was there for advice. And he loved to bring Ace over to the Bay and to have dinner with us. So our special dinner was chicken and dumplings, and in the summertime, fried tomatoes. So I won't be eating them this summer, but Don and I shared the love of those. He, as Randy said, when people were giving me condolences, the first thing almost everyone said is that he was a gentleman and a gentleman, and Randy touched on that. So those of you who didn't know him, I just want you to know that he was a very special person, and he cared a lot about his friends and his family. He loved Tuckerton. He would always say to me, We knew it when it was best, Pat, because it has changed over the years, and we were here back when it was the old Tuckerton. And so we still love it, but it's not quite the same as it was. So I guess that's all I have to say. I just, we will all miss him very much. He loved the bay, he loved to hunt, he loved to fish, he loved to drink, maybe. And so in the boys club, that was kind of what they did. But he was loyal, and everyone whose life he touched will miss him very much. And I'm sorry that others don't want to speak, but I understand why. So is there anyone else who would like to say something? If you just have a short story, something that he did for you, said to you, something funny, you don't have to give a speech. You could just say something briefly. So I have a taker.
I can bring it to you.
I too didn't prepare anything. Donnie was a good buddy to my husband Up. They hunted and fished together, and it was just like another brother. Some of the tales I can't tell that they did, but they were really good. I knew Donnie when I was real young, and that was a long time ago. And he was just one of the sweetest people that you would ever want to know. I never really heard him say bad things about people, but the Horners family is our family, and I'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I am also a spec. This is my mother, Nancy, and Oppie was my father. So the Hornet family had a huge influence on our family. I just remember Mom and Dad really having a wonderful relationship with Ace and Lulu. And Daddy would spend many times down at Ace's place before we started, they started Captain Speck's You Drive Boats. So on that theme, I do have to say, like, how wonderful it is to see how this entire group here is so connected to nature and to the bay and to this wonderful environment that we live in. So I am prepared. I have a very short little story that I wrote years ago just about our life on the bay, and it's called When I Was Young Down by the Bay. When I was young down by the bay, Dad came home in the evening with treasures. His bounty included oysters, clams, scallops, winkles, mussels, crabs, eels, and fish that Mom lovingly prepared for my eager and hungry family. When I was young down by the bay, Mom placed a huge pot of steamed little neck clams that we swished in melted butter and happily slurped with pure delight. Reaching into the pot was somewhat of a challenge, as my sisters and brother were ready to grab the just perfect catch that I was going for. Sitting around the dinner table, Dad told tales of his adventures on the water, the day's events, as well as stories about Poppy and Gertie, and his growing up on the bay was shared. When I was young down by the bay, I walked the dock, checking each piling for crabs, the sun glistening on the water's surface, and it invited me to go in for a swim. On my way out of the cove, I explored the water's edge for shells, smooth rocks, egg cases, and driftwood that became my artwork masterpieces, and Mom proudly hung them on the walls as if they were from Leonardo da Vinci had created them. When I was young down by the bay, my sister and I sailed across Little Lake Harbor Bay to Long Beach Island and back. The salt air tangled and twisted our long, dark hair. The cool water left salt crystals on our dark skin. Afterwards, as we pulled our small vessel onto the beach, we continued to feel the power of the sun, wind, and water. When I was young down on the bay, our family business was Captain Speck's You Drive Boats. My job included everything from counting out big juicy bloodworms to mopping out the cabin garvies as they returned to the dock. Responsibility, respect, and gratitude came along with all the enjoyment of my full life. When I was young down by the bay, I clammed alongside my dad. As the sun caressed my back, I heard the voices of my grandparents and great-grandparents. Their words in my head, so loud at times, I felt as though they were in the water with me. When I was young down by the bay, I sat alone at the end of the dock as the day gave way to the night. The moon touched the water and came right toward me. There was a complete calm. My connection to the bay cannot truly be expressed. It takes over all my senses and emotions and tells me that I'm in heaven. And I do totally believe that we are so fortunate to live in this wonderful little part of New Jersey. And I just thank the Horton family for all the love and support that they've given us over the years. Thank you.
I'm going to tell a little story. I asked Uncle Ed, who's also part of the Speck family, and he worked for Don for many years, and he is too emotional to tell the little story, so I asked him if it was okay if I shared it with you. Just to tell you what kind of man Don was. And I hope I get it right, Ed. Ed and Don, and who else was going? Butch. Okay, Ed and Don and Butch were going hunting down in Virginia. And Butch and Don, who owned the business that Ed worked for, or Butch and Ed worked for Don, they said, well, we think we'd like to stay for 2 weeks instead of just the one that they had planned. And Ed said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go for 2 weeks, I only have 1 week vacation. And Don said, don't worry about it, I'll just give you another week's paid vacation and you can stay with us. So that tells you how generous he was and thoughtful and what a sweet man. Is there anybody else that has anything to share? Okay, hold on.
So I don't know hardly any of you. Maybe I did in my younger years. But I grew up in Tuckerton and I spent a lot of time with Don as I was growing up. And Jeff and everybody at the house. And I remember vividly watching Dirty Dancing at the house one night. And it was me and his wife and Don and his kids. And it came to the part where they were dancing fresh on the TV. And Don got up and said, I'm gonna go in the other room, and never came back. It just made me think he was such a sweet, quiet man. And I really treasured all the time that I got to spend with him there, growing up and seeing, you know, his example that he led for other people. He was a good Christian person in my life at that time, and whenever I think about him, he brings a smile to my face. So all of you that had the blessing of knowing him for any amount of time, I hope that you treasure it. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, anyone else? Oh, come on, Harper.
I love Uncle Don with his doggies.
Harper is Uncle Don's grand niece. And you have, all of you here have seen the doggie that she's talking about. That's Ace, who's been walking around enjoying the party as well. All right, I'm just going to end it with, oh, are you going to speak? Well, come on. You can do it. I'll hold your hand. I'll bring the mic to you.
days he would come hunting in Virginia with us, bring him up, and hell, my dad would come up here and go fishing. I barely even knew he was coming until he got here. Called me from Don's house. We're downstairs. What are y'all doing for dinner? And my daughters grew up always knowing him as Uncle Don and doesn't know, have a clue what it meant not to call him Uncle Don. So he is definitely on the card.
Mom is gonna say
Come on, Mom.
Okay.
Come on, Mom. Clean it up.
This is Will's mom.
The PS is this, when Will was up here working, he was doing a lot for Don, is my understanding, really busy for him. And, Will at some point decided that he thought he might wanna go to school. No, that was after. First time, he decided that he'd like to go surfing in Costa Rica. And wasn't sure that he really ought to do this. And Don encouraged him to go, even though that meant that that was, work that wasn't gonna get done. Don said, go, if this is your opportunity. And, so that was the first time. The second time, when Will decided he might want to go to school, and he'd never been to college before. All my friends think, oh, he went back to school, and said, no, he'd never been. So, he wasn't sure that he could do this, leave a job behind, leave Don, without his work and so forth. And Don said, no, this is something you must do. If this is what you want to do, go do it. So, that's a big deal to me.
What she neglected to say is that when he went to school, he became an architect. So rather than hammering nails as he was doing for Don, now he's designing houses. And Roger, would you like to say something about the old days? This is my cousin Roger. I just thought that he was here.
Don was my cousin, but he was also my friend. The last time I saw him, we went to Mayo's halfway house. And Mayo's is halfway between the city and shore. But not many people know that it's also halfway between Boston and Raleigh. And it's also halfway between Beijing and Shanghai. If you go east from Shanghai and west from Beijing. Don had liverwurst and onions and a sandwich. And it sounded good, so I had one too. And that was the last time I saw him. From a visit.
I think the love of liverwurst sandwiches may be shared by someone else here. Would I think that was true?
Oh, boy. I'll say a little bit. I met Don, I think Sean introduced me. We became friends almost immediately. And, well, when everybody was either going to work or anything, I said, we're retired, we're the old guys. So we used to do what he's talking about. We used to just get a six-pack and cruise through the pines. But we'd always wind up at Mayo's. And did the same with the club, got a little worse than I did. In fact, Keith gave me one right here. So, that was like a good thing. We did several trips like that. I took him some of my places, he took me to some of his places. Took him over to Mickey and Minnie to get that German draft beer. We'd go to, on the island during the winter, when all the traffic wasn't there. Go to Coupel's, or get down Buckaloo's, or some place that's been there forever. And, we enjoyed our company for a lot of years. As long as I knew. Thank you.
I will add to that Don and Wade later years, he wasn't able to do that. So Woody did that part of it, and then they would bring the crabs back and cook them at Don's house, and then share them. He helped. Tom was part of it too. So they had this little. It wasn't a business because they gave them away. They didn't sell them. They just shared them with people. But it was just something that they enjoyed doing. A lot of people benefited by getting the crabs already cooked. All you had to do was, they were cleaned and cooked, so you just had to eat them. Okay, I think, here, we're gonna have another person. This is Donna's granddaughter.
My name's Maya. I'm trying to hold it together.
We're gonna get this.
You just made it worse. My papa was a very busy and popular man. I remember like all my friends would be like, "Oh, your grandpa's so cool." I was like, "Yeah, he is." We would go on dates. He would never let me pay, even if I invited him. I remember, we would go fishing and camping and hunting. I remember I would always call and like check on him, and then one time he wasn't answering his phone, and I was worried about him because even though it always flooded down there, he just wasn't answering his phone. So I get down Green Street, and there's cops blocking it off, and I get out, and they're like, "You're gonna walk down there?" I said, "Yeah." I don't know, meters. I walked all the way down there, bang on the door, and he opens the door like I haven't called him a million times. He's like, got a beer and saying, "Hey, what's up, girl?" And I was like, "I thought you were like on the floor." And he's like, "Well, you're here now. You want to have a drink?" Like, I guess so. But he was a good guy. I always loved hanging out with boys. Gave good advice. He was the first person I told that I was pregnant with my daughter, and he really didn't know what to do with that information. Like, "Oh, girl, I don't know. What are you gonna tell your dad?" I was like, "I don't know. I was hoping you would." Yeah, he will be definitely missed in a lot of good memories. So thank you all for coming.
All right, anyone else? See, nobody wanted to speak, but once it gets the ball rolling, everybody has something to tell. And I think that we've done Don justice. I think we, again, appreciate everyone who came, whether you knew Don or not, if you came for me or for Jeff or for Donnie. We all appreciate it. Yes, that's it. If you want something else to eat, we've got lots of desserts, lots of food. Everybody can take something home and just enjoy the rest of the party. Thank you.